All right, whenever you want to start.
Hey, how are you all doing? We're here at the Alcorn State University Small Farmers Conference in Tupelo, Mississippi, and want to talk to you a little bit today about this suite of equipment that we have. I'm Bill Evans with Up and Farms, and my photographer today is Dex Hughes, and we have this cool suite of equipment that NRCS helped fund for us, and it's available for growers who are trained in how to use it and are using it for specialty crops like growing tomatoes or collards or something like that. There are 3 pieces of equipment plus the 18-foot trailer that make up this suite of equipment. We can start with this tiller right here. This is a rotary tiller, and there's rotating tines under here. There's a 3-point hitch connection that it connects to the tractor, and it runs off the power takeoff on the tractor, and that turns the tines. And this will till 8 inches deep and 6 feet wide. The reason we needed to till at least 4 to 6 or 8 inches deep is to have enough loose soil to allow the mulch layer that I'm going to talk about in a minute to pull enough soil to make a nice bed. With this, you're going to want the land to be clear of weeds and things. You're going to want it disked before you run this tiller here. This tiller works much better on disc ground, and of course the ground can't be too dry or too wet. So run this over the ground, turning that moist but not wet ground into a cake crumb consistency, about that deep. Then we grab this beast over here. This is a bed shaper mulch layer. This machine, the tiller takes about a 40 horsepower tractor to run it. This machine really needs a 70 or 75 horsepower tractor to pull it because it pulls so much soil. The direction of travel on this is that way. This machine will first pull that loose soil from the tiller into the throat here, into these two plows here, underneath into a chute that forms the bed. I'm going to walk right in front of the camera here. This pan is adjustable for the width of the bed, up to a 2-foot wide bed, about 4 to 6 inches tall. And so it'll form as it goes down the row, it'll form a bed of soil with furrows in between where the wheel tracks are. Then, after the bed is formed, these 2 cradles here hold rolls of plastic sheeting. Mulch is what it is. It's thin polyethylene, and it can be white or it can be black. And that mulch is going to come down here and go between these 2 rollers here and be laid on top of that newly formed bed. Then these 2 tires here, this one and the one on the other side, are going to press the edges of that mulch down on the edges of the bed below the shoulders, and then this disc here, coulter here, and that disc coulter there are going to bury the edges of the mulch, leaving the top of the bed and most of the sides open and exposed, but burying the edges to hold the plastic down. The edges of the plastic has to be buried underground so the wind doesn't catch it and knock it out. These are dirt shields, and when we're using this in the field, we flip these down, and they keep the dirt that these are throwing up from landing on top of the bed, because we don't want dirt on top of the plastic bed. Let's see. After the bed is formed, but before the mulch goes on, there's also a way to put drip irrigation tape down. And drip irrigation tape is just thin wall hose with no emitters in it, and it goes in that wheel up there, and then there's a yellow pipe under the chair, under the seat there, that goes down and can be adjusted to be in the center of the bed, off to the side of the bed. It can be so that the plastic tape is laid on top of the bed or buried underneath in the soil in the bed. Let's see, one other cool feature about this particular machine is that wheel and this set of hydraulics in the front. See all those hydraulic hoses under there? and that wheel there work together in something called row track. And that wheel is set in the center of the bed. And when the center of the bed gets slightly off to one side or the other, that wheel has an electronic sensor that tells the hydraulic ram on the other side over there to be activated to shift the mulch layer left or right slightly, allowing the mulch layer to make up for the inconsistencies in the slope of the field and stuff that the tractor hits. So when the tractor driver steers slightly left or right, that's not going to affect this. Your mulch bed is not going to look like this down the field. It's going to be straight down the field when you have the row track on. This can operate with the row track on it or without the row track on it. It's a very simple system. A couple more features to this. This is a little tine, cultivating tine, and it will pull a little extra soil for that disc back there to grab and have more soil to throw along the edges of the plastic. This is just a row marker. It's adjustable row marker. It comes down like this. It can be adjusted like this. Oh, it really can be adjusted. Oh, well, they got it too tight for me right now, and I'm not going to mess with it. But that slides out another 3 or 4 feet. Well, it slides out another 3 feet. That to adjust so you have a mark for your next row. So all your rows are the same. Let's go on to the next piece of equipment here. Now, this piece of equipment is a water wheel transplanter. This, again, only needs a 40 horsepower tractor or so to pull it because it's not pulling a lot of soil and it's not nearly as heavy as that piece of equipment. This one here takes 2 main operators to run it plus the tractor driver, but you can run it with only one operator back here. These are the water wheels. This is a tank that you have water in, or you can put fertilizer water in this tank. You can even add fungicide water to this. Oh, by the way, the mulch layer, you can get a fertilizer attachment for that. You can also get an herbicide attachment so you can spray herbicide on top of the bed before the plastic is laid. That's good if you have a lot of nutsedge in your soil, because nutsedge will come right through the plastic. So back to this. So this has these spikes on these wheels. These are called water wheels. And the spikes are going to poke holes in the plastic as the wheels turn, as the tractor is driving that way with this attached to it. The spike is going to make a hole, and then the operators are going to drop a plant from trays of plants that they've set up here before they go to the field. And they're going to drop a plant in each hole. That hole may or may not have water in it if this is engaged and the water tank is adding water to it. The spikes are adjustable. You can see there are blanks in the wheels here that don't have a spike in them. The wheel is a 6-foot diameter wheel, or 6-foot circumference wheel rather. So right now it's set with 6 spikes on it, so they're a foot apart in the field. And they can go as close as 6 inches apart. But we can take out most of the spikes. Like if you're doing watermelons, you may only have 2 spikes on the wheel at a time. So your spikes are 3 feet apart, and your watermelons are 3 feet apart. Tomatoes we like about 2 feet apart. Something like collards, we might do it only 18 inches apart. This one really doesn't do 18 really well, but it could. It would be, you'd kind of be close on it. But they make other wheels also.
And you can remove one of those wheels, correct?
And yes, you can remove one of these. So that's the other cool thing about this. In about 5 minutes, I can take, there's a pin over here, there's another pin on the other side. The axle for the wheels comes out. The hose for this comes off easily down between the 2 wheels. And you can have 1 wheel on the machine at one time, or 2 wheels. You could actually put a 3rd wheel on here too if you wanted to, but we have only 2 right now, so that's what we're using. But if you're doing something like tomatoes, then you only want one, you might want just 1 row in the center of the bed. So we take off one of the wheels, we'd adjust the spikes to be correct spacing for the tomatoes, and we would move one of the wheels to the very center and put it all back on. For something like bell peppers, we might leave it just as it is. And these are going to run and put 2 rows, and then we'd have the drip irrigation tape in the bed right between them. Those tomatoes, if we had the tomatoes in the center, then a single row in the center, then we might move that drip irrigation tape pipe on the mulch layer. That might be off to the side, so that it's 3 or 4 inches to the side of the plants when we do the final bedding. Let's see.
Someone was asking about Schedule 1 and Schedule 2.
Oh yeah. So there are several different size pins for 3-point hitches. This is a Schedule 2 size pin, and some tractors only have a Schedule 1 or Schedule 2 receiver, and you can modify one or the other with sleeves or with replacement of pins. We're going to have these. The weight of this one, the minimum that you can run on this one really is a Schedule 2 because of the weight of the machine. And these pins here are built right in, so they're not even removable. That's because this you couldn't use a Schedule 1 on this and get it lifted off without bending the pins. So great question. And you can see actually in this view here, you can see that pipe for the drip irrigation tape that's going to feed down in there. You can kind of get a feel for how that goes. You see it adjust side to side with the one nut up, the one bolt at the top, and then this adjusts the depth of it there. So it's pretty slick, and you can also adjust the angle of it. So that's pretty slick. And this is the hydraulic ram that runs the row track that I talked about. Looks like we have a little bit of damage to something here. I'm not sure what's going on here. Gotta figure out what happened there. Somebody hit this. Not sure what happened there. Let's figure that one out. Wow. That happens. There's minor damages that happen to these things. But anyway, they got ramps for the trailer there. All of these things on the mulch layer are adjustable. There's all kinds of adjustments on it. This is the depth of the bed from 4 to 8 inch high bed. And you can run between 3, this one will run between 3 and 5 foot plastic, wide plastic. So a 3 foot plastic you can make an 18 inch high bed top with. 4 foot you can make a 2 or an 18, and 5 foot you can definitely make a 2, and sometimes you can make a 3 with a 5 foot plastic wide bed. So that's doable there. Because there are lots of settings, a grower has to be trained in how to use this stuff. Like any other piece of equipment, we need to make sure that people know to lift it up when they're going to turn at the end of the row, because you never want to drag a piece of equipment on a turn, at the turn rows, at the end of the rows. You want to learn how to set wheels like this and cultures like this to do their job well. There's all kinds of safety measures on this thing too. This thing is covered with stickers on don't put your hand here, don't put your foot there, because it is dangerous. When this thing is rolling, it's heavy, it's got cutting blades, and one of the things with this one here in particular is the machine is about 8 feet long. So when a tractor turns at the end of the row, the back of this is further out than a lot of people think. So it's very important when you're turning that your workers stand away from the machine so they don't get knocked by this, because this will knock them down.
Now you talked about you only have to necessarily have one person on the transplanter. I don't know if you talked too much about the person who rides on the mulch layer.
I didn't, and that's because technically you don't necessarily need anyone on the mulch layer. You do need someone. For this, you need a tractor operator, and you need someone at one end of the row, at the beginning of the row and at the end of the row, to cut the plastic and cut the tape and tie knots in the tape so that water doesn't get in before you build the irrigation system, and to make sure the edges are buried. You can do that with an operator for long rows. A lot of times that's done with someone just sets this up, and then they go sit in the chair and they watch the mulch during a long row. Sometimes you'll have one person that stands at one end of the field and another person stands at the other end of the field by the tractor operator. So that would be a total of 3 workers on that deal there. There's actually a place on this right over there for holding a shovel, so that the operator, you can do this for 2 people. You have the tractor operator and the machine operator, and she puts her shovel right in that hole over there. And it's actually labeled. We'll walk over there because it's odd to see something labeled shovel holder. So See, shovel hoe. And this machine actually has instructions on how to use it right here. Actually has instructions on how to use it right here. And there's lots of training videos, and like this one here, that we're teaching folks on. It is important to do maintenance on this. It's important to put it away clean. It's important when you're moving between fields, and especially between farms, and especially between counties, that you clean it thoroughly before you move it. We don't want to be moving weed seeds. There's a few clods of dirt on the trailer and stuff now. I don't even actually like to see that, because there could be noxious weed seeds in there. There could be plant diseases in there. So, so I get concerned about that a little bit. Let's see. What else do I need to talk about? Footrests for the workers, and those are adjustable. The length, the distance between here and the footrest is adjustable. These don't move in and out. They're adjustable that way. So different size workers can be accommodated. The angle of these is adjustable. Two different ways. This one here for going up and down, and this one here for going side to side. So different workers can be comfortable in different ways. This is really dangerous, so be careful. This is just a leg, by the way. This is just a standing leg for storing this out in the field. You would flip this back down, and it acts as a foot, as a stand for it. So, very important that this be run at the right speed, the right tractor speed, and the right engine revolutions per minute, or PTO revolutions per minute. Sometimes with a variable rate PTO, there's variable and static rate PTOs depending on the tractor you have. PTO is the power takeoff. That's the thing that comes out of the back of the transmission and runs power equipment like lawnmowers and tillers off the back of the tractor. Some are variable, some are fixed. When you have a variable rate power takeoff, it's very important that you run the tractor at a low gear with high revolutions per minute to get enough speed on these tines that you're not negatively affecting the transmission. If the tires are turning too slowly, then that can be an issue. That's a strain on the machine. Just like if you know that a tornado can put a wheat straw into a telephone pole, it's the same idea with this. The faster this is turning, the healthier it is actually for the machine. Within reason. You can't turn it too fast because it's not designed for that either. But it needs to be running at the correct speed, the correct revolutions per minute, and the correct forward speed of the tractor, as well as the correct moisture level in the soil. Can't be too wet, can't be too dry. So, in fact, dry soil or wet soil is not only might be bad for the tractor or for the machines, it's also bad for the soil to run it at the wrong speed. So that can be a challenge too, because you will degrade the structure of the soil more and the ability of the soil to perform well for your plants if you till it at the wrong moisture level. When you say the wrong moisture level. This is kind of cool here. This, you know what this is? This is the instruction manual for this. And they keep it right on here. So that's pretty slick, and we just tighten that down. That becomes a waterproof case for that paper. We'll make we have an electronic copy of that. So if that were to, get lost somehow, we would have we have an electronic version of it too to replace that one. So there you go. Follow the warnings and all that stuff on all this equipment. Be safe. Don't allow inexperienced operators to use it. Don't allow children to use this. Don't allow your youngest, son or daughter to be in charge of this stuff. They just don't have the skill set to run it. So, and always have two workers. Whenever you're working with any of this stuff, always have at least two people in the field with you. This is not the kind of stuff you want to run alone. And if you do have to do anything with any of this equipment alone, make sure you tell someone what you're doing so they can check on you once in a while when you're going to be done or where you're going to be. What else? Anything else for now?
Seem to have covered everything.
I think that's pretty good. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, guys.